let's look at getting promoted through a 3-step framework: the rock, the map, and the snowball. Why did I become an executive coach? I saw lots of great people fail to get ahead at work, while their much less talented peers blew right past them. That made me furious, but also curious. What were great people getting wrong? It came down to helping them re-examine what drove success, and then helping them make critical shifts, one hard truth at a time.
Feel like you're doing everything you were told, but you're not moving ahead at work nor having the impact you seek? Then welcome to 97% Effective with Michael Wenderoth, where we skip feel-good, happy talk and engage experts in pointed conversations about what it really takes to move the needle at work and your career. So if you feel stalled or frustrated, or seek that extra edge as you move to the next level, then look no further. This is the Hard Truths Playbook you never got.
Hi, I'm Michael Wenderoth, and you're listening to 97% Effective. You're moving into the period where bosses will meet and decide who gets promoted. Or you're entering into the quarter where projects, budgets, top assignments, and which people will lead them are being decided. For many, this process can defy logic or seems to operate by a playbook they never got. Today, a short episode to help you stay on track in your career so you aren't frustrated or feel stalled about your career progression. By the end, I want you to have a simple, memorable framework that will give you clarity, more confidence about the path to get promoted, and the steps you can take to ensure you are in the driver's seat to make that happen. To do that, let's look at getting promoted through a 3-step framework: the rock, the map, and the snowball. In each step, we'll get practical and actionable. I'll share a critical question to ask yourself and a critical action you can take. We'll draw from hard truth evidence of what accelerates our careers, how I coach rising leaders through that process, and insights from past guests here on 97% Effective. So to start, visualize the rock, the map, and the snowball. That's 3 steps. The rock is about getting real, the hard truth. The map is about getting strategic, seeing the forest. And the snowball is about doing, taking action. So step 1, the rock, the hard truth. The world's not fair. And you probably feel that if you have watched a cycle at your work where you can't figure out why someone else got the nod again. As the quote goes, the truth will set you free, but first it will really piss you off. There is, beyond performance and hard work, drivers that explain why someone else got the nod. Networks, political skills, visibility and brand, executive presence and communication. So better to build a foundation of how to propel your career on facts, evidence of what drives us, than cliches and comforting fantasies. The biggest hard truth in organizations is that we don't promote ourselves. Other people promote us. So how they think, feel, and decide is paramount. And we need to understand how that promotion process works and what part we can play to influence or get the outcome we seek. So, for example, and I'll ask this question straight up, do you know who in your organization makes the decision of who gets promoted, how that process operates, and how you stack up? Some companies, very few, will have a very clear process. Most don't. It's your job to find out. Can you articulate that process? And if you don't know, it's time to go find out. And very quickly, take a look at the last people who actually were promoted. What did they do? How did they act? How did they spend their time? By doing this, you're going to see some patterns, and it's going to show what your organization is really rewarding, is really promoting, not what it says it does. And that's another hard truth we may not like. Is not understanding the process or believing something about yourself that others don't or don't see holding you back. Listen here to one of my early guests, Kara Williams, partner at the global consulting firm Credera, where she talks very frankly about what held her back.
The number one thing that held me back from getting to where I wanted to go, which career-wise was an aspiration to be an equity partner in a consulting firm, was I spent way too long believing in the just world myth, right? I worked so hard believing that someone else was going to push me up the ranks that, I even set a target time frame to make it here, and I missed it by 7 years. 7 whole years. And it was because I believed someday someone would see all the work I'd been doing, and that would be my ticket to the partnership, and it wasn't. And the second hardest lesson related to that was I had to get out of my own way. And there were plenty of people during, especially that 7 years after I had missed my personal goal, that were trying to tell me, trying to coach me, and I was not listening. I was not ready to listen. I resented people who were trying to help me. And it took a moment of clarity, frankly, for me to snap out of that.
Bottom line, the harsh reality is that often the blocker is us. Behaviors, strategies that we need to take, but are not. Kara's story ends well, actually ends really well if you listen to that full episode. And she uses that knowledge to help further future partners, rising individuals within her organization, identify and step into the levers that will really move them forward. Strong relationships and internal networks, ensuring that your aspirations and capabilities are known. So really important to look in the mirror. Have you had that moment of clarity that Kara did? The question to ask yourself, what is holding you back? Embedded in that is examining how your current approach or strategy is working. The action to take, what can you do to identify what is holding you back or address it? This could be having a frank talk with someone you trust in your organization to get the real perspective, or addressing whatever that fear is you have head on, experimenting around that dimension that you need to improve. One of my clients did that through a frank talk with his boss, who cared a lot about him, but told him that he was not communicating clearly and succinctly, especially in front of the top leadership. That required him shifting how he communicated in ways that resonated with senior leadership. And together with his boss, they set about to improve that, to get training, to get practice, and to get that exposure upward in the organization.
You've been listening to 97% Effective with your host, Executive Coach Michael Wenderoth. If this interview is making you think, make sure to share it with a friend. Now, back to our interview.
As they say, all progress starts by telling the truth. What's the hard truth you need to face, be it the way your organization works, about what really accelerates you, or the mental models you may hold, but you can't quite let go of. Which takes us to step 2, the map. The map is about getting strategic. It's said that knowing true north and having a compass is great, but without a map to know the swamps or shortcuts, what good does true north help you out with? As one of my clients told me, you can move mountains, but you need to know where to push. So if you embrace the rock, the hard reality in step number 1, the good news is you already have a good idea of the landscape. And that's where step number 2, the map, comes in. It helps you really see the forest, the best paths, and where to spend your time to serve your goal. Are you spending your time on what actually moves the needle? The key to the map in organizations is knowing who can make things happen, or the tools and assets that can influence people, that can make people aware about the fact that you're promotable. More hard truth. It's said you are in charge of your career, but make no mistake, it is other people who promote you. And people cannot promote what or who they do not know or who they do not perceive as promotable. Listen here to a short clip from my conversation with Professor Peter Bellamy, professor of organizational behavior at the University of Virginia's Darden School of Business, on what he had to say on this front.
You get promoted because there is somebody who says, you know what, we love Michael and we're going to let Michael move up, right? Somebody has to make a decision about you, right? And your job is to find those people and get them excited about you, right? Is finding the gatekeepers, like finding the sponsors, finding the person who is going to be in that room pounding the table and say, you know what, Michael, we love this person. Let him move up.
The question to ask yourself, who do I need to get on my side? The action to take. Sit down and, yes, literally map out the landscape. Who needs to be in your court? You need to see the landscape and who are decision makers, influencers, blockers, and how are you going to navigate that? And if you need help, you can download my Power Map tool available on my website. One of my clients believed that he was a shoo-in for the VP role. But he was really hoping, when we really dug in and went through the landscape, and he had a frank conversation with his boss, he realized his boss was not advocating for him and that he wasn't even part of the leadership training that all future VPs must go through, both to assess them and prepare them. So our work started with, how do I make sure my boss is advocating and putting me through the leadership training, which is the ticket to getting to the VP level? A year later, or less than a year later, he was put into that program and he's well on his way. This process, developing that map and asking those questions, got him thinking about how he was spending his time, his focus, and even what he needed to stop doing or that wasn't helping him, at least with his goal here on getting promoted to the VP level. And it is really good to know the path, because the path, you may need to be bolder, or there may be no opportunity in your organization and it's better off that you leave. Hard reality. Which moves us to step number 3, from the rock to the map to the snowball. And step number 3, the snowball, is about doing. Because as Albert Einstein said, nothing happens unless something moves. You can accept the hard truth, you can see the path, but you really need to start doing things, the right things that move the needle. Too many people are sitting around, especially type A people, to wait for the stars to totally align. Think here about that visual of the snowball. You start small, you start building. And once things grow, the snowball becomes bigger and becomes unstoppable. So that act of doing or pushing the snowball brings new insights and gets things moving. Unfortunately, many people get in their heads, they don't act. And many people opt out. Listen here to what Gorick Ng, Harvard career advisor and author of The Unspoken Rules, shared on my podcast as a massive career-limiting move that he sees, particularly with younger clients.
It's when someone offers you an opportunity, an interview, an invitation to a meeting, an opportunity to speak, a stretch assignment, and you say, I don't think, I'll pass for now. I don't know if I'm quite ready for it yet. And I've heard so many, especially young people who have gotten great interviews at blue chip companies who don't take the interview. And in doing so, reject themselves from the job before they even have a chance for others to give their assessment. And then lo and behold, someone else who's half as competent but doubly as confident says yes. Perhaps doesn't do as good of a job, but because they showed up, they're the ones with the opportunity.
Yes, stretching often feels uncomfortable, but that is often where we grow the most as individuals. That doesn't mean blindly stepping into things, but instead to lean in and engage in some of those career acceleration behaviors and strategies. Build a strong internal network and sponsor, master interpersonal skills, speak up so you are visible and have a point of view. The question to ask, beyond working harder, which of those career acceleration drivers do you need to build? And what is a first step you can take to flex that? The action to take, don't just identify it, do it. If it helps, think of it as an experiment or even as an assignment. You need to be able to reframe this in ways that fuel learning and growth. Small actions build up, and done repeatedly, like the snowball, whether that's speaking up, seeking advice from a mentor, building a network, it exponentially grows. Moreover, this builds muscle. This builds a habit, the muscle you need as you rise and increasingly have to work through others in your organization. So there you have it. The rock, the map, and the snowball. Embrace the rock, lay out the map, start rolling the snowball. Get real, get strategic, get doing. The year is ending or the year is starting. It may feel daunting, but it's going to feel more daunting if you do nothing. Because it's so easy to stick with what we are comfortably doing right now and putting off the hard work and the shift you need to do to move ahead. So just get started. You can move mountains. You just need to know where to push. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to 97% Effective, where we skip happy talk and help you break through and ascend one hard truth at a time. Help others discover this show. Leave a review and rating wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you like what you heard, you can get free resources, including the first chapters of Michael's book, Get Promoted, on his website, www.changwenderoth.com. That's www.changwenderoth.com.